launching downfield, underthrown and intercepted. Keely Ringo has an escort down the sidelines.
Heartbreak, longing, despair, letdown, choke.
These are words Atlanta sports fans are all too used to hearing.
Until now.
Dansby throws to first base. Is this happening?
No more negative expectations. No more playing the victim. No more fair weather freeloaders. No more.
38-yard field goal by Morton Anderson. The hold, the kick, it's on the way, it's up and going. The Falcons are going to the Super Bowl. The Falcons are going to the Super Bowl.
From the Mesmerized Studios in Woodstock, Georgia, Believe Entertainment proudly presents Believe in Atlanta Sports with your hosts, Robert Taylor and the Commissioner, Mark Rich.
Well, how are you, Atlanta? How the hell are you? Welcome to the OCHO. We're not ESPN 8, but this is episode 8 of Believe in Atlanta Sports. I am your host, Robert Taylor. We got our little buddy here, old ET, and as usual, we got the Commissioner, Mark Rich. We still got to get ET some gear, man. We got to get him some kicks and a little get-up. I don't know where you would get that. Do they have like a preemie section at the baby store?
Can we get it like a pennant for him?
Oh, man, it would go right here. Yeah. And let's look. We want you guys to get used to ET because he's cool. He's, like I've said, he's your buddy. He's your friend. He's not creepy. He's our official mascot. We now have we crowned our official first fan last episode, Dr. Drew Yeager. It was good to have him on. He's gonna be back. But kind of really the first guy that ever approached us and said he was digging what we were doing and he liked the idea. He liked our
Friends
concept.
and family excluded, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
What size fitted hat do you think E.T. would wear?
Like a
12,
a 5/8. I don't know.
That's a melon.
We could go to like the Baskin Robbins or get one of the ice cream helmets from the game and just stick that sucker right on there. But anyways, boy, last episode we gave you a heavy dose of Braves just because they're playing right now, so that's probably the most to talk about. Football world is heating up. We're going to touch on a little later, but college football kicks off next weekend. Actually, I think we had this weekend, right? Is there football this weekend?
Yeah,
or
it's week 0 is this weekend, so you got a few, really interesting games like Vanderbilt, Hawaii.
Ooh, that's a barn burner there.
Stuff like that.
Let me get the grill on for that one. But we're going to talk Falcons today a little bit. And I've kind of teased it some, and I'm finally going to bust it out now. I'm going to introduce to you, Atlanta. Some of you may know. You may have read the article. I found it very interesting. I'm going to enlighten the commissioner here a little bit, but the most important person in that organization, not named Arthur or Terry. And, man, she's got a big job. And I said she. Before I would just said they. I didn't want to give it away, but it's a young lady by the name of Kirsten Grohs. But before we get to that, the Falcons did play the Jets. They lost. I don't care. The Twitters did light up again with the Ritter's got a good grasp of the playbook. I think we found our guy, and I'm still gonna say it's too early because he's never played a down in the NFL in the regular season. But you got some little numbers scratched out there. People have also asked, is there a QB competition officially in Atlanta now? And I don't know. I'll let you take that. Take it away there, Commish.
I don't really know that either, but like you said that people talking about Ritter having a good grasp of the playbook, and that's all well and good. Mm-hmm. I also saw a bunch of people talking about how leave it to the Falcons to blow a 16-0 lead, and my response to all these people was like, where was that positive energy when our first and second string players got us to that 16-0 lead? But regardless, a few things that I saw, keeping an eye on the quarterbacks. Ritter went 10 for 13 for 143 yards. Mariota 6 for 10 for 132 yards and a touchdown. I had a few people reach out to tell me how, even though that they love Matt Ryan, they already see how our deficiencies at offensive line how they are less impactful with mobile quarterbacks. And obviously we preface everything with it is still just the preseason. But a couple of things I did notice, a lot of people gave Matt Ryan a lot of crap about not being able to get the ball downfield. And in watching Mariota and Ritter, I watched Ritter absolutely rip one to Bernhardt down the field, and just watching it hit him completely in stride, and it's just great. And our favorite lacrosse player seems to be like he's on track to potentially make the 53-man roster. But then there was a pass from Mariota to Pitts. It was like a 53-yard pass. The only one Kyle caught. But Kyle had to come back, reach all the way back behind himself to catch the football. And if you hit that man in stride, that is a no-brainer touchdown there. So not to say that means anything for either of those two quarterbacks, but something we look for. If you all our Fairweather fans and all our fans that thought the only thing that we needed was a mobile quarterback and we would have been a Super Bowl winning team, well, we have those things right now in both of these guys. And again, you got to get the ball where it needs to be, and I'm sure they're working on it. Again, it's preseason. It's just stuff that I notice. Our quarterbacks tend to they're getting, every time they run the ball, they seem to be carrying the ball for quite a few yards. I believe they averaged 7.5 yards a carry every time they touched it in the Jets game. But yeah, the running game was not great against the Jets. I think our running backs running the ball, they averaged around 3.5 yards a carry. So nothing really great there, but I caution everybody with the preseason as well, because we have to figure out the rest of our team. We talked about it in an earlier episode. We have a few knowns on the team. We have a lot of unknowns. We just cut Auden Tate, Geronimo Allison, and those were a couple of the wide receivers people thought were just like they were very excited about based on size or name recognition. And we're cutting down the roster right now just to see who we have and what fits for our scheme. We just got Deion Jones. Deion Jones is back at practice. Deion Jones is off the PUP list. I read a few articles about, is he automatically our best linebacker? And I would argue that talent-wise, probably yes, but we have no idea what that means. There was speculation of a potential trade to the Cowboys in the offseason, so Dan Quinn just recouping all of his
brotherhood.
Yeah, all of his guys.
Getting the band back together.
But here's how I feel about it. Like, Deion Jones kind of fell off a little bit before we went down, and if you can get some sort of value for him and make a trade, I'm not going to be upset about that. But I actually really like Deion Jones. I would like him to be the Deion Jones that, caught that interception against the Saints and fell flat on his back in the end zone, and we all went absolutely apeshit. I want that guy back, that guy that flew all around the field, that guy that has a nose for the ball. That guy can be an asset to our team. I just hope we can get him back and utilize him if he's going to be on the team. If not, I hope he has some value in the trade market so we can continue building moving forward.
So moving forward, can you and I agree to never refer to them as the Saints, but either the Aints or the Louisiana Corn Dogs? Just to throw that just disrespect out there, because I don't know if he's still watching, but you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Worked with him a long time ago. He's a little Saints troll. Aints, see? Aints. You know who you are if you're watching.
Yeah, you do. And you probably are watching.
Yeah. Just so he can troll some more.
Our number one hater, our first hater.
We do. We have a fan and we have a hater, man. We are moving up in the world. Yeah. We are going places. I had to remind myself that. We had lunch yesterday because after the debacle that was the first, episode 7 1.0, I said, like the seat of the pants kind of, off the shoot from the hip. Like, it does work, but you do need to kind of scratch some notes out and kind of have a game plan of where you're going to go, what you're going to talk about. I said, I'm all worried about how we're doing and where the show's going and, do people like us? And are some of the numbers from the very first show, they've kind of tailed off a little. People are listening longer, though, on YouTube. I got that little nugget. So people are listening longer, so that means maybe we're getting through. But I did have to remind myself, we've been doing this for like 2 weeks. So because we haven't overtaken Atlanta in the ratings, there's nothing to be worried about. Because like I said in the first, not the first episode, the last episode, that I just thought I blew it with Brian Scott, because I was like, we didn't talk about sports. I was rushed, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude,
I think that goes to show that, like, I think that was good, because I was very nervous about our first interview, and Brian Scott, whether you knew his name before or not, it's a big deal. It's a big deal to have a guy like that on the show, and just to meet him. Genuinely awesome dude. And the fact that we didn't get into a lot of sports, like when he mentioned coming to Atlanta and getting to play with Michael Vick, I had a million questions about that I wanted to ask. So Brian Scott, if you're watching, if you're listening, we want you back on the show. If you want to be like a regular guest, we'll gladly have you.
Hey, we will change it to the B. Scott Show, and you can just be the third wheel, or the third guy. I saw Tim this morning. He said he's going to come back, so that'll be fun to come back and talk actual sports with him. But like I said, just the opportunity to meet someone like that and get in the same room, like, I just had to talk about him, and because I was like, man, what an interesting guy. And I am so pumped about these shoes and these insoles, man. I got my appointment made. I'm going to get my foot mapped. Like, I hope I'm not setting my expectations too high, like it's going to be like but I feel like it's going to be game-changing. Just when I get out and do my walks around the neighborhood and the cancer walk, and we'll get into some of that later, because we are going to sponsor a hole at a golf tournament. We're going to talk about that later. Mark Wohlers is going to be playing there. Terrence Mathis, our now friend Brian Scott, said he's going to send out like a thing in the NFL newsletter, because retired players, they play golf. They're looking for charities and causes. And we got another event coming up at the restaurant, Cousins and Ackworth. We'll talk about that later. But let's get to the business at hand. I've been telling you I was going to talk about it. I found this article quite a while ago, and I just said, I don't know how many Falcons fans would read it, because it's not about on-field stuff or coaching your players and salary. That's where a lot of the attention goes. So I read the whole thing, and I've read it several times now. So anyway, her name is Kirsten Grohs. She did some work in the CFL, and for a little while, she sent out resumes to every NFL team with like Starbucks gift cards. I mean, she lobbied for herself to get hired. Falcons give her a job. And you could argue that, I would say there is no argument, but somebody out there, because of the world we live in today, would argue she's Terry Fontenot's right-hand woman, person, whatever, what do they call them, pronouns you want to refer to. Because he talks to her every day. It's the first email he opens every morning, and the first thing to come across his desk is a report from her. Her title officially is the Manager of Football Administration for the Atlanta Falcons, but she's also the compliance officer and the league liaison for salary cap and player personnel rules. But Terry calls her actually an NFL market analyst, because what does she do? And this is every day. I don't know how the woman ever sleeps. Like, I think she probably just lives at Mercedes-Benz. Hopefully, maybe she's got some, automated stuff going on in the background. It just kind of runs itself and crunches numbers. But she gives every morning up-to-date cap figures on the Atlanta Falcons and every other team in the NFL. Also, every contract signed the previous day. So, if a player gets signed, and I knew it was a process, but they are so far ahead of us when it comes to signing players. A player they sign tomorrow, she's been working on this for probably 3 or 4 months in advance, crunching the numbers, running the analytics, and not only looking at today's trends, but she has to forecast salary cap, money trends, and contract trends in the future. So she's kind of a fortune teller of some sort. So any deal that gets done in Atlanta, she's the one that crunches the numbers and actually makes the contract. She delivers them a lot of times too when they sign them. So
I'm glad to hear that this is a thing, and that we're talking about this because the salary cap hell that we find ourselves finally getting out of, she sounds like she's the person who is going to help keep us from getting there again.
110%. She is the person that will either tell Terry, hey, it makes sense to sign this person, or B, doesn't make a lot of sense to sign this person. I don't think we can work it out. She's almost like the wizard. She's behind the curtain. Terry's out front. And not to take anything away from Terry Fontenot. He's a very important figure. But this lady right here behind the scenes doing tons of legwork so Terry can do other things. If the Falcons win a Super Bowl, somebody better mention her on the platform, on the podium, or she better be out there. If nobody else does, I will, and say this. Listen, Falcons fans, this lady right here is a key cog in the machine that is the Atlanta Falcons. Very, very, and you should go look her up, do your homework, because, man, this is just a little snippet, like a little piece of what she does. She's I just felt people should know who she is, and her name should be out there, because she's going to be a big part of building a championship franchise here, or getting us back, because we've been a championship franchise.
We should send her an invite to be on the show with a Starbucks gift card and see if that works.
Well, maybe Will McFadden, maybe after a little while, maybe Brian Scott, because he's partnering, maybe he can help us out. But we'd love to get her on. If anybody sees this, we'd love to have you on, and so you could talk about your job, because it's an important job.
And it's very interesting. Like, the wealth of knowledge she probably has about the entire NFL, let alone just the Falcons and what we have going on here. Man, we could probably talk for days.
Just think about her computer, the information that's in there, like just the number crunching, and like her brain is far superior to mine or yours. Well, you're pretty good with math and analytics, stuff like that, but I can't even imagine what has to go into that job. And to produce these reports every single day, it's like, do you just like take a 10-minute nap in the break room and eat a power bar and go right back at it? I just can't imagine the hours that you have to put in. But that says something too, how committed she is to the process and to the Atlanta Falcons and the success of this organization to do this day in, day out and love it.
Yeah, and if she does love it, that's even better. You find people that do this work for you that like actually love what they're doing. Like, that bodes well for our franchise.
So just know she's kind of the brains of the outfit, so to speak, when it comes to contracts and salary cap, and does this work and market trends. Because I think a lot of people, it was a lot simpler, obviously. 10, 15, 20, go back. Any sport, NHL, MLB, like just the sheer amount of data that's collected in professional sport, even college sports, even in high school sports now, some of these programs are better than some small colleges. North Cobb over here, which I'm a part of, and we're going to have some of their coaches on the show, I hope. When I saw their film room and just some of their facilities, I was like, wow.
I remember when I used to think it was so funny, like, because you didn't really get, like, Major League Baseball always had like the weirdest stats. Like, they kept such detailed stats, and they'd be like, this guy has a sub-2 ERA on sunny days in June when trains are running from Wichita to Boston. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
what?
I mean, it does get out of hand, and I'll give you a good one that it was awesome. It was cool that Olsen just tattooed one and hit it out of the stadium into the river. But the social media thread and the news wires light up with, he did something no Brave has ever done before, something Freddie Freeman never did. And I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, don't get me wrong, super awesome. I'm glad to see Matt Olson just hammer one for a grand slam and pound on the Pirates. But they're not going to say that at his Hall of Fame acceptance speech. It's a stupid. There are so many worthless stats, and I don't understand. Like, I guess that's what you're not going to get here. You're never going to hear us talk about, every third Tuesday of the month he's hit a home run or some just weirdness, like solid stats. But stats also, so stats are overrated, but analytics it's two different things. They're not the same. Stats, like an ERA. Don't ever think an ERA is actually true to a pitcher's performance, because guess what? Especially relief pitchers, man, they inherit runners. Mm-hmm. So if your relief pitcher's got a bloated ERA, sometimes you may want to look at what the starters are leaving him to clean up when he comes out there. It's like, well, he's got a 6 ERA. And?
Do you watch baseball? Like, are you
relief
watching
pitchers
these games?
oftentimes are also janitors. Hey, come in here and clean this mess up.
Yep.
Which I hope, because I've reached out to a friend. We can get Brad Klontz on from the Atlanta Braves. I used to hang out with him here and there, like 10 years ago now. But I remember watching this one game with the Mets, and he got out there in relief, and it was just like you're out. I mean, it was like the 11th inning or 12th inning of the Mets. But then the Mets just poured it on and scored like 11 runs, I think, in like the bottom of the 12th. And I remember Bobby Cox just coming out and just kind of, hey man, you just deal with it. I mean, I ain't pulling you. You're just we're done. I'm not using any more arms tonight. You're just out there. You're stuck with it. So, but that's another thing too. If you want to talk about starting pitchers, run support, man. Some pitchers don't get run support. So yeah.
Well, and the whole analytics thing, I guess my point was, like, baseball has always had, like, these crazy stats. They keep such detailed stats, and people would, like, try to forecast what was going on. And then analytics, like, blew up, and you get, Moneyball and stuff like that. But it permeated all sports, and now there's analytics for literally everything. You're talking about analytics in high school football now. So it's all over the place now, where baseball used to be the one sport with really crazy stats. Now, like, every one of them has it now. They get so detailed with what they look at as far performance-based stats and stuff like that.
Yeah, some people were like, do we have to get the nerds involved in our sports? But honestly, it's worked.
Yes. Yeah.
Brian Snicker will tell you, old school, like 40-plus year baseball man, he's incorporating it. So analytics, whether you like them or you don't, they work. It's proven.
And they're here to stay.
And a lot of it's weird, though. You talk about spin rate and velocity and launch angle, and I just wonder, where do they really fit in? And, like, I think it was a rookie for the Pirates, actually, hit the hardest ball in the StatCast era. I'm just like, why? Okay, cool. Like, why are we keeping track of who hits the ball the hardest? I don't know.
I mean, it's a cool thing to know, I guess, but
yeah.
I just feel like there's a sweet spot for, like, stats and analytics, and they go way outside that range. But
they do.
It is what it is.
Definitely do. Like, I would like to see more analytics about how players perform in different types of weather. That would be pretty. I know they're out there. Nobody talks about them, but I'm sure they're there. Like, hey, how does this guy perform in overcast situations or in cooler weather, hotter weather? I mean, they have it for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Literally have it for everything.
100% for baseball, those stats exist.
But, yeah, so got off on a little side road there, but that's what's cool about having our notes now is we kind of know where we're going, but then we can kind of wander off and veer off. But
we veer a lot.
Yeah, man. Well, that's the fun of this show. That's what you don't get when you listen to Atlanta Sports Radio. You get kind of a structured, here we're coming at you with this next segment, next up. Man, who knows? We might start talking about coffee in here in a little bit, which Folgers Black Silk. Good stuff.
Black Rifle Coffee, go get some.
I haven't tried it yet. But there's one like downtown. Is there one like right up? Because we're in downtown Woodstock.
It's on 92.
Okay.
Headed back towards Trickham.
I'll check it out.
I buy 2 bags every time I go in there to try their coffee.
I like a good cup. Greg, our buddy Greg, he's the coffee guru. He still works with you at Guston's. He'll talk coffee all day long.
He's working on a new blend I get to try next week, so I'm excited about that.
So back to the coffee's great. I love coffee. I have French vanilla and Rice Krispie treat flavored creamer, and I bought this container and I put them both in together and mix them up. Put a little splash in your coffee. You're golden. It's good.
Amazing.
Some people, my dad was a straight black coffee guy, just black. And boy, I bet he probably drank 3 or 4 pots a day. Black coffee and cigarettes. That was my old man. God rest his soul. But back to football. We have a big weekend next weekend. It is a huge matchup in the Benz. The defending national champions right here, baby. We start our title defense, getting no love, And now, see, this is what I was talking about. I have some notes scribbled out, but we didn't get to talk about this, and we're going to talk about it now since we're on to Georgia football. Colin Cowherd. Oh, that windbag, that hot air blowing buffoon, Colin Cowherd. Doesn't even, he came out with his top 25. Georgia's not even in the top 10. He has North Carolina, the Tar Heels, ranked above us. I don't know, is that just to get people talking, like we're talking about him now? Like, has he just done his job?
I guess so.
Because we're talking about him? Because that's the most ignorant, stupid poll. Like, that's dumb.
I don't understand why people do anything like that. That's just, I mean, if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. But at least don't just put it out. Talk about why. Tell me why North Carolina is better than Georgia in your opinion. I need to know why you think that. And it doesn't matter here. It's neither here nor there. But I mean, I haven't really cared about Colin Cowherd in quite some time. He's very, very annoying. But he makes a lot of money. And he does this now, though. It's like people get to a certain point, and then they're like, let's go the Jim Rome route.
You know, I sometimes wonder how people get to where they get, because I've never been a fan of him, and he said some pretty ridiculous things on the air, about wrestling fans. By the way, wrestling fans, I don't know if you listen to Colin Cowherd, but he called you lonely booger eaters when Eddie Guerrero died. He literally said on air, no one cares. So I've never oh, yeah. Listen to this. Look here, it says he has Alabama ranked second, but USC, Texas, and Tennessee are rounding out his top 5. I don't know, man.
Let's get Colin Cowherd on the show because, man, wouldn't.
We'd be on World Star because you'd see a fight break out. Like,
fair enough.
And again, hey, man, guy's been successful. He's a force in the sports talk podcasting world. I mean, his show went national. It was down here. A friend of mine used to love it, The Herd. But I just think, whatever, dude.
And if that's what you're doing, like, hey, again, explain it. Like, tell me why.
You can't.
Yeah.
Nothing that'll satisfy me or any other level-headed football fan.
You're saying it to cause an uproar, and you're getting what you want out of it, and people are going to look, like, comment, yell, bitch, scream. Like, you're going to get what you want out of it. I just don't – I don't find that's not fun for me. Like, I don't enjoy that.
I mean, maybe somewhere he's he doesn't have a beard, but, maybe he's doing his evil laugh because we've played into his hand because I brought it up. Maybe I should just ignore him in the future and say we'll never talk about Colin Cowherd again. But I just felt like I had to bring that up because anybody else in the college football world, and again, I try to, like, as a fan, maybe try to emulate how, the Kirby Smarts and the Nick Sabans and the other players of the world are. Like, whatever. We're not thinking about whatever that guy says. We got to play football.
We're sniffing rarefied air right now.
Yeah, I got to get in the film room. I got to get in the weight room. Like, we got Oregon coming up. Why do I care what some buffoon on, Fox Sports says about Georgia? He's like, it's meaningless. It means nothing to us. If anything, it's bulletin board material. They just went in there and went, there you go. Here, read that, guys. This make you angry? Good. Now get out there and kick some ass on Saturday.
We're going to enlarge it when we play Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, man. I can't remember who said that. But somebody said Tennessee was going to roll into Athens and beat us this year, which I don't believe.
And that's what we talked about, man. Hot takes and everything. Like you just say it for a cheap pop. But again, how come when people say these things, they don't really expound on it? They say, well, I think this guy is really good, and they're going to be able to take down Georgia. I'm like, God, okay, like, sure. I do this a lot. Like, I get, like, so frustrated. Like, if you think Tennessee can beat us, awesome. And I'm sure there are many ways that, like, they could possibly beat us any given Saturday, any given Sunday. It can happen. I just don't understand why now are we doing this? People do it. I don't hear it about, like, Alabama all the time. Like, but somebody's going to come out and say, oh, A&M's going to smash Alabama. You just want to get that. So if you're right, you pick the one team that you think is going to knock them off, and I'm pretty sure I said these exact same words, and you just sit back and hope. And if you're wrong, no harm, no foul, I guess, because the team that was supposed to win won. And your guess wasn't good. But if you're right, oh my God, you're a genius.
Yep, a guru. Dude, I am so excited. It's Dan Lanning, his head coaching debut with the Oregon Ducks, and like I said, I think he's going to do great things. I just think we're going to be hearing about Dan Lanning in Oregon down the road. But what I'm excited for is that Georgia's first offensive series, because David Pollack has come out in the news and said that Georgia's tight end room is quite arguably like legendary, like once in a lifetime, like holy shit. I can't wait to see what they do with all. They're going to use them all.
All four
they
of
can't.
them, just mind you, all four of them are possibly better than your favorite team's starting tight end. Just remember that.
Yeah, like they're going to utilize them all in some degree or another. There's no way you can keep all those guys on the sidelines because they all bring a different wrinkle. I'm just, man, and to see the new look hardened Stetson Bennett, because I'm telling you, he looked kind of doughy last year, and we said this on the Calling All Dogs episode. Dude is jacked, man. He is ready to play some football. I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting. I want to see what this defense looks like. I don't think it's maybe a little new look just because Schumann and Muschamp kind of have their own stamp on it now. Lanning's gone. I don't know how much they changed it just because these guys have, kind of been in the system, and I don't know if it was a big overhaul. I'll have to do some homework on that. Somebody else could probably tell me, but I'm just so pumped. I don't think Georgia misses a beat. Like I said, like Kirby said, we've burned the boats. There's no coming back. The monkey's off our back. We broke through that glass ceiling. We grabbed the brass ring. It's just, man, looking forward. So,
well, I'm not sure where I read this or what I was listening to. It was probably Brandon Adams on Dog Nation, but talking about the potential for our running game now with Milton banged up, Andrew Paul out for the season. He's probably gonna medically redshirt, you would imagine, and then so Kenny McIntosh is the talk of the town. You got Kirby saying things that you're not used to hearing Kirby say about guys coming out of camp, about McIntosh, and just hyping him up. And we've been running back by committee for, I think the last guy that toted the ball for the majority of the season was DeAndre Swift after Holyfield left. Mm-hmm. And we've always had some sort of tandem or what. So are we going to see McIntosh? Are we going to see heavy McIntosh? Are we going to see McIntosh and Edwards? Because God, I would love for Edwards.
Branson.
Yep.
Don't forget about him.
No, I'm not. I promise you I'm not. But that's the thing. Like McIntosh and Edwards are your season bets, and you got the rookies. So does it rotate if Milton doesn't come back in a timely fashion? Do the two of them slide to the top? And then Branson's getting all the garbage time carries that Edwards used to get, and Edwards used to just rip it in garbage time. But it's exciting. It's exciting to see Tate Ratledge coming back on the offensive OL. Like, man, my guy was in tears. He said it was the happiest moment of his entire life getting back on the field. Like, it's exciting. There's a lot of stuff going on.
If you think about it, over time, like the history of Georgia football, Herschel got all the carries. Garrison Hurst, heavy load. Terrell Davis, for what he was in the NFL, didn't see a lot of action. But we can talk about, and it this is older news, but we can talk about how tailback U kind of got started kind of around 86, 87, because we just lost one of them. Lars Tate passed away recently, but those four bruisers, it was Rodney Hampton, who went on to be awesome for the Giants, Lars Tate, Tim Worley, and Kenny. I don't know why I can't remember his last name. And I'm sorry. I'm blanking. But
sorry, Kenny.
Yeah, but those 4 guys kind of, shared the load. So, and then you look at Sony Michel, Nick Chubb. It's always kind of been some guys back in the back.
Gurley Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who cares? And not to mention, hey, you might see Georgia this year become a pass-happy offense. With all those tight ends, with maybe Denylon Morissette shows out as a freshman. We've got Blaylock coming back. We've got A.D. Mitchell. We've got our Wes Welker kind of Lad McConkey. That guy. Like, who knows? Maybe Kirby's like Stetson is grown enough, and we're going to cut him loose this year. Who knows what we'll see? That's why I'm so excited.
I would love to see pedal to the metal for 4 quarters from Kirby this year.
Just tossing it all around the field.
I would love to see it because, and we talked about this before too, like generational defense to our defense now. So there's a lot of stuff that we haven't seen yet that we're excited to see. You don't think that there's going to be a catastrophic fall off on defense for the Dogs because we don't rebuild, we reload now, right? So you know that they're going to be good on defense, but the same way you've seen it, you saw it in Alabama with Nick Saban too. Like, sometimes you have amazing defenses and they can carry your team the entire way through the season, and all you need is a game manager on the other side of the ball to make sure everything is good, and you run the ball all the time to kill clock because your defense is so good. If that defense is not quite as good as what you expect, or maybe you got a bunch of younger guys and you don't have a known commodity on defense for yourself, then you can focus on your other weapon. Best defense, great offense. Like, I don't always follow that, but like it can work, especially in college football. And we have all the weapons, all of them. Mm-hmm. Just because we lost Jermaine Burton to Alabama doesn't mean we don't still have a loaded wide receiver room. And I'm telling you, those tight ends, for what it's worth, will make everyone on that offense better. Literally everyone. Yeah. Stetson, the receivers, the running backs, everybody is going to benefit from the tight ends.
And let's not forget this one wild card that, he was a huge pickup for LSU, and he came here, and he's kind of just been gone. But it seems like he's back. Gilbert, good Lord. Now, he hadn't seen the field in a while. Is he going to have to knock the rust off? I don't know. Has he been keeping up, with his workouts and training and everything, dealing with whatever he's been dealing with? If he has, then great. But, I'm telling you, I would love him just to toss it all around the field just to make Burton think twice about his decision. But that's another thing, too. Alabama fans would argue with you. But historically, they haven't had great quarterback play. They've had a lot of great game managers. Sure. McCarron, game manager. Good quarterback. McElroy, game manager. Good quarterback. Bryce Young, he's a quarterback.
Yeah.
But historically, not a lot of name an Alabama quarterback that's in the NFL right now lighting it up.
Tua
going ham.
But not going ham, but you have Tua, you have Hurts, you have Mac Jones.
Mac Jones had a great rookie year.
You'll have Bryce Young next year. And their quarterbacks have gotten better, but it is what it is. They implemented. They can run the ball. They turn out running backs too. Mm-hmm. But they spread the ball out and they throw the ball and they do it well. But that's like evolution. Kirby went in and he built a defense. He built a hell of a defense. And now look at our byproduct. Our byproduct is that our offense is now built up behind it. So if he has to switch gears, the other side of the coin every once in a while, then great. If our offense is better than our defense this year, and I still truly think that it's going to be like a negligible flip-flop between the two of them, the defense we had last year is something we're going to be talking about forever. But the difference between the number 1 defense in the country and like the number 4 defense in the country or 5 defense in the country, but your offense makes a jump.
If you're outscoring everybody,
it's about balance. Yeah. If your defense is not as good as it was the year before, but your offense is way better than it was the year before, stands to reason that you may have similar results to the prior year.
And Georgia still put a lot of points on the board last year.
Yes. Yeah. And we are stacked to be better than that this year. But that's what I was saying about pedal to the metal. Like it's how Kirby coaches. At the end of the game, if we're not trying to run up the score on people. I would love to run up the score on people. I used to be against that. I'm not anymore.
Not I, said the brown cow. I've been like that because I've watched Spurrier do it. I watched Urban Meyer do it. I watched Nick Saban do it. And because running the score up, there are certain times you don't do it. Just, you have to pick and choose your moments, but it's an intimidation factor.
Right.
You just beat somebody so bad.
Psychological warfare.
Exactly. I mean, just crush them. Embarrass them. So when they play you next year, they're like, God, wait a minute. Did you hear that? Georgia just scored on Vanderbilt again. But it is because they're like, man, those guys put up 50. They hung 55 on us last year. You just annihilate them I'm all about it. I love it.
I agree.
Just keep going, But here's another thing I'll bring up too. One would think that all the guys that were behind that generational defense last year in practice, going up against them in the film room, watching it happen, that's got to rub off. You know what I mean? It's not like they were out playing Nintendo. They weren't playing Call of Duty. They were in the room with those guys, around those guys, training with those guys, seeing what it took to be that successful badass, what it takes to be a badass defense. They know.
Well, and think about this too. A lot of them saw the field. A lot of them saw action last year, so they know what it's like to be a part of that. Do you think they want any less than what they had last year? I hope not. I don't think that's the culture Kirby's created there. So they're going to want to go out there and replicate what happened this year. And we got some absolute beasts. So I think this year is going to be a fantastic year. I've seen most people are projecting us to either go undefeated or have one random loss, but ultimately play Alabama in the SEC championship, and I don't see any reason why not.
No, me either. I know there's people out there, the negative people, they're like, well, because we've got this championship, let's wait for the, kind of like when the Roadrunner drops the anvil on the Coyote's head, like, oh, the anvil's going to drop this year. Now, again, it is football. It is a long season. Winning is hard. Putting up a championship run is hard. Injuries, there's so many things that could happen. But so you could basically say if things go as planned, Georgia is set up to make a strong push and a strong run to repeat as national champions. And I'm excited. More excited than I've been in a long time because, people are like, well, you ever going to shut up? No, man. Because everybody knows the obvious. We've waited our whole lives. I was alive when they won it, but like two or three. I don't remember. That wasn't mine.
Right.
I got mine finally. I've been waiting a long time.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean much, in the realm of the life in the universe. But I like sports. I like my dogs. I went to school there. I finally got mine, and it's time. After all the years of the trash talking from the LSU's and the Auburns and the Floridas and those godforsaken Bama fans, like, it's our turn. And I don't care what anybody says right now. I'm telling you. Who knows what will happen in the future for Georgia football and Kirby Smart. He signed a 10-year deal. Wasn't it 10 years?
Yep.
I don't see why he won't stay for 10 years unless Mary Beth says, Kirby, maybe you should be at home more. Saban just signed. He's going to be coaching at Alabama until he's 80 as it stands now. So, listen, Georgia's going to win more than one national title, period. End of story. In the next 10 years, Georgia's going to win more national championships. I'm not saying 5 or 6. That'd be great. Probably not going to happen. But when Kirby, I'm going to say 4. I'll say Kirby Smart will leave the University of Georgia with 4 national titles under his belt. And that's probably a little. I don't think so, man. I think Georgia has what it takes.
We talked about it, man. The culture change, what we saw last year. If that is any indicator on what it's going to be moving forward. There's no reason you shouldn't think that. There's no reason we shouldn't feel. And people used to give us crap as fans all the time about how every year we thought we were going to win a national title. Well, I'd argue that, like you should feel that way every year, whether it's logical or not. Like, you want to go into every season, just like the players, you want them to think they're going to win a national title every year. But we got ours now.
Well, I'll go ahead and say this. I'm not alone. There might be a lot of Georgia people or football people that disagree with me, but Mark Richt should have won a national title at the University of Georgia. He had the talent. He just couldn't put it together. There was that piece of whatever was missing.
In that one game.
One
game every year.
Exactly. Everybody. I mean, when Vince Dooley, Ray Goff, Jim Donnan, all those guys, you've heard me talk about the pistol. That pistol's in the river. They threw that thing in the river, man. It's gone. It is gone. It's a new era. But you know what? 3 in 10 years, that's not crazy. So I am going to say 4. We've already got 1 in the next 10 years, provided he stays the entire length of his contract. Don't see why I wouldn't. 3 in 10 years is totally doable. With the facilities, the new stadium, everything. Georgia is set up to be, right now, full dynasty mode. I don't care what you say.
I'm right there with you.
Let's just end it on that. It's going to be exciting. Next Saturday in the Benz, you're going to try to snag some tickets. Let me know if you find one because I want to go.
Okay.
I'm off on Saturday. But we're going to wind it down. We don't really stick to a clock. You may see some episodes that are longer, some are shorter. But Hawks basketball is creeping up. It's right around the corner. So we wanted to touch on that a little bit. And we just basically, I was going to have you, you did some research and looked up the schedule and found that the second game of the season, regular season, is against Orlando, and Mr. Paolo's down there, so kind of the rematch between him and DeJounte Murray. But some questions I asked you were, predict your starting 5, really 4, because we know Trey's going to be on the floor. So the 4 guys that are going to be with Trey, kind of what they bring to the table this year. You also mentioned yesterday when we had lunch that the offense was going to be more fluid. So I'm giving you the inbounds pass. Here it is. Wait a minute. Before we do that, I got to tell you something. I may even change this to the logo of the podcast. Every year for Mark's birthday, there's the most amazing basketball picture of him from when he was a kid. Short,
I'll put it up on Twitter.
The basketball shorts, like the old school, like 80s shorts, the socks up to the knees. It's amazing.
Disregard the Hornets logos, the old school expansion Hornets logos. But yeah, no, it's a quality picture. Ladies, watch out.
Yeah, it's an epic picture. I just had to bring that up because it makes me laugh, and we're gonna have to get it on the show somehow.
Absolutely, we can put a picture right here on the desk so everyone.
Ooh, yeah, maybe. Ooh, I got it.
ET T-shirt.
No, we are going to find a 3D printer and have a Commissioner 1984 basketball season action figure done.
I mean,
the whole
make that happen.
We're doing
Please
it. We'll figure it out.
Happen.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, Hawks basketball. Let's get on that. We got to get out of here.
So, Hawks start off October 19th against the Rockets at home Wednesday. But the Friday is the big deal to me. That's the Orlando game. I can't wait to see that. But you asked about the starting 5, and I think it's pretty much a no-brainer, barring injuries or anything like that, that you're going to have Trey, Murray, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella going to be your starting 5. When I was talking about the offense being more fluid, what we've lacked is a true secondary scorer, and you get flashes from Hunter sometimes, you get flashes from Collins sometimes, you get flashes from Bogdanovich sometimes, and we had Herter, who we thought could be an option, and now with Murray, what you get is also a secondary ball handler. So Trey Young doesn't have to be in control of the ball every second that he's on the court. But also when Trey comes off the court, if you have Murray on the court, you have somebody else to facilitate. And I think that was a big deal. We didn't have a catalyst for our second team either. And not to say I don't know how Nate McMillan's going to run the offense, but you feel comfortable with either one of them out there running the show. But with both of them knowing how to do it and both of them being able to play off the ball, I see this benefiting them both. Now, DeAndre Hunter, you see as a 3-and-D type guy is what most people consider him. or when he was coming out of college, that's what you thought. But there was one game against the Knicks last year. I'm sorry, Heat in the playoffs where he just poured it on. And that's the guy I thought we were getting out of Virginia. Now, got a couple injuries, and it's hard to get that continuity going when you're coming back from injury and getting back in with everybody else. But he's got all the tools. He's a very he's a very good defender. Okay, now DeJounte Murray is also a very good defender, so that boosts us on the defensive end of the ball. Murray actually led the league in steals last year, so you think about what having another defensive presence on the floor will do to your offense, especially with two guys that can facilitate the basketball and push the basketball. Collins could be, in the right situation, a 20 and 10 guy every night. He just kind of got moved out of the offensive scheme, it felt like. Capella's your bruiser down low. That guy had like 14, 15 rebounds multiple times last year. I just think that once they gel together, that it's going to be a really big problem. And then the guys you have coming off the bench, depending on how Nate McMillan chooses, we all know he's not a huge fan of playing rookies, but we do have young guys on the team that could potentially contribute. We got Big O coming off the bench, Onyeka Okongwu. I absolutely love him. You got him coming off the bench. You got Bogey coming off the bench. Jalen Johnson, I'd love to see a lot more of him. You have a second team that could be formidable, especially if you find a way to keep the rotation of Trey and Murray, where we have one of them or the other one on the court all time, and then just really get after it when they're both on the court.
So, I have questions. Maybe just one. How important is it because he's been criticized and it's been said he needs to improve, how important is it for Trey to kind of up his defensive game? Does he need to make strides this year because they did bring in Murray, who's kind of a good defender? I mean, how important is it for the Hawks' success that we see some improvement defensively?
Well, you always want to see improvement, and for everything that you see, and you don't know 100% the real story, but it appears that Trae Young is consistently working on his game. And he knows. He's been interviewed multiple times, and he's talked about his deficiencies on defense. And do I think that it is paramount that he becomes a good defender? I don't. I do not. And it's not because we got Murray, who is a good defender. It's just because what he brings on one end of the court supersedes the other end, in my opinion. What he's really good at, he is great at. So I don't think he has to get better. Would it be insanely helpful? Yeah, yes. Yeah. But you think about it now, you have Hunter and Murray. Capella's a good defender down low, but he suffers a little bit, I think, because most of the centers in the league now are stretch players. He's moving around a lot more. Collins isn't a defensive liability, but not the greatest defender. But you have two stud defenders in your starting lineup. Okongwu, awesome defender. So we have defenders on the team. But to answer your actual question, no, I do not think that it is paramount or necessary for Trey to improve on defense for him to be better. I don't think that's going to be something it's going to be something that's always talked about, regardless in his career, that he wasn't a great defender. But you look at some of the guys, look at his size on top of everything. You have 6'1" Trae Young. $185.
God, Trey doesn't look like he's 6'1". He looks like he's much shorter.
Well, because everybody's a giant.
I love Collins, man, and it's not funny, really, but it's intriguing to me. My girlfriend, not a football girl, really. She'll watch it here and there. Baseball, totally not her thing. She loves John Collins and she loves the Atlanta Hawks. Loves going down to the games. So do we have a high flyer? Do we got one of those guys that can just?
That is John Collins.
All right,
but Murray's sneaky with it too. I'm very I'm very intrigued to see how highlight factory it turns into, because again, we haven't seen the real product on the court yet.
Yeah, it's going to be opening back up soon. And that's another thing too. Like, I always got tickets from the restaurant to go see the Hawks, but with my job, I'm going to be able to watch a lot more Hawks basketball this year. And I will say this, I did get a little turned off just watching it on TV. I don't know, because we can talk about this in another episode about my love for 90s basketball, 80s basketball. The game's a little different. I think it's a little softer. But I'm excited because, I don't know, life's just better when the Hawks are kicking ass. And how important – I'm going to ask two questions. How important is it for Nate McMillan to get this team back to the playoffs, number one? And number two, how – I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Because he was reluctant to take the role. How invested is he in the team? I guess maybe if the Hawks got any sense that he wasn't, he wouldn't have the job. But it always gives me pause when somebody's like, I didn't really want it. I was hesitant. I was reluctant, but now he's here. They had that great playoff run. Then last year was a setback. Just kind of give me the rundown on that.
So
Make me feel better about Nate McMillan as head coach of the Hawks.
This is going to be a wait and see type thing. 100% Nate needs to get back to the playoffs. If Nate doesn't make it back to the playoffs, I don't think we see Nate pass this year, especially with the move to get Murray. There's almost no scenario I can run in my brain where he keeps that job unless it's like an injury scenario where something happens. And knock on wood, I don't want that to happen.
How involved do you think he was? Was he a go get me DeJounte Murray, or was it here's what we've got for you, Nate, now make it work? Do you think he was involved in that?
I'm sure he has to be involved in it, but I think that's a Travis Schlenk thing, and I'm 100% behind that man. And obviously I'm sure they collaborated in the decision-making process to not do anything after the insane run to the Eastern Conference Finals, and thinking that what they had was going to be good enough to duplicate that. And that's not. I'm not going to fault them too much for that, because you caught fire, and you also didn't have DeAndre Hunter, so you had a piece coming back in addition to what you just had. So thinking that would work the following year, I don't fault you for that, especially if there wasn't something that was going to greatly improve your team. Travis Schlenk, we're not making moves just to make moves. We make moves to get better, and I think the move for Dejounte Murray made us better. The Herder trade, that makes us a little bit better on defense, and that contract got moved. So
yeah, I liked Opie though. I liked him.
Man, Red Velvet, that was my guy. I really enjoyed watching him play, and I really wanted him to turn into a sharpshooter, because he showed flashes of just absolutely. Again, man, he absolutely kept us in the game and killed the 76ers when we went on that run. So, man, I wish the guy nothing but the best. I mean, poor guy's in Sacramento right now, but I wish him nothing but the best. But to your question, Nate McMillan, I don't. His lack of want, or this idea that you can't play your young guys, I think is outdated. And it definitely shows up towards the end of the season if somebody gets hurt. If you're not playing your young guys early on, I don't understand if you're trying to acclimate them to the NBA. I don't know what his problem with playing these guys is, and if it's something that it's just ingrained in him from when he played, and that's how things go, or if that's how his mind works. But Jalen Johnson is a weapon that we did not use, and he size, defense, scoring, he's explosive. You talk about a flyer, that's another one. We got a flyer in him too. AJ Griffin, is he going to use him this year? Because I'd argue that whether or not, you want to try to win every game, every night, but you have to find a way to get this guy in. You have to find a way to get him minutes, even if it's a few minutes here and there. You have to get him some playing time, because what happens when you need him? And now he has no. I think that's the knock. The knock on Nate is that he, and I think that permeates to his entire game management.
Yeah, I
Not playing
don't
the young guys.
see why you wouldn't, because let's face it, the NBA is a young man's game. I would love to. I mean, I can look it up later, but one would think the average age of an NBA starter these days they couldn't even be old enough to buy beer potentially. It could be 20, 21 years old.
Yeah, you're looking at most of the league in the like the 24 age.
Yeah.
Is like probably the
Oh my
median
God.
age.
I mean, by the time you reach 25, 26 in the NBA now, you're a salty old veteran because it's 1 year in college and usually you're done.
Yeah. I mean, for the really
Because
good
you
players,
have to go.
The guys that are playing are the ones that are one and dones. Or,
or
guys that have been in the league
that
for a
doesn't
while.
make any sense. Like,
But to answer those two questions, yes, Nate needs to make the playoffs. He 100% does need to make the playoffs, and he just needs to let the team evolve. Obviously, we have new pieces here, so he's going to have to figure out how that works. But you have to incorporate the young guys. Like there's no point in stashing them. They're not learning anything if you're stashing them or keeping them on the bench. Get them some minutes when you can get them minutes. And I'm not saying you have to like throw them in there and make them a giant part of the team up front, but you have to get them acclimated because eventually you're going to need them. At some point, you're going to need something.
it's kind of like, lottery tickets. Can't win if you don't play.
Right.
If you don't put those guys in and get them the minutes, they're never going to develop. You got to, I guess it's kind of you got to get them in there.
Well, and if that's his philosophy, that's his philosophy. I'm not going to knock it. Okay. That's how I believe differently. That's it. I think you need to play the young guys more. I think you need to get everybody on the team involved. First of all, to see what you have. Like, if you're not going to play them, you don't know how good they are. But, I mean, Griffin and Johnson was a projected top 5 pick prior to sitting out the last season. And people like to knock a lot of stuff about, his character and some stuff about, like, sitting the season out and how he never stayed in the same school for more than a year, or just the negative stuff that comes out about people. Fact of the matter is, it's a big bad man.
Oh,
and
man.
I want to see him play.
Dude, it's crazy what people will try to dig up. Like, that's something I think about sometimes. We're going to wind the show down, but because it's weird. Like, we're on YouTube now. Like, hundreds of people, according to YouTube, have seen us. Hundreds of people have listened to our show. If this thing goes where we dream of it going, there's going to be like thousands upon thousands. And it's like, do I want that? Because somebody out there is going to be like digging up old posts and old Twitter stuff. And it's like, golly, there really could be somebody 3 years from now, because we've stuck with this and kind of listened to fans, built this thing up, that people could be wanting to put out weird shit about us. And I think about that sometimes. And I'm like, ooh, scary a little bit.
A little bit, but
because we're ready, we're game. But hey, man, what I know is it's going to be really exciting coming up, because the Braves are going to the playoffs. There is no doubt about that. The Falcons are close. What do they got? One more preseason game? It's 3 now, right?
Jacksonville on Saturday is the last one.
And then Braves in the playoffs. Falcons playing regular season football. Georgia playing regular season football. The Highlight Factory is maybe a little just shy of a month away, or a little over a month away from firing up. So tons of stuff. United is still out there. We still got to talk about them. I never know when they're playing. It seems like the Atlanta United play soccer all year long.
Yep.
It's weird. Like, they don't have an off season. It's like, God, we can get into that whole rabbit hole of CONCACAF and Bundesliga, and there's so much. Like,
We're just going to have to bring in a translator.
I know. We're going to have to bring in a soccer expert. Maybe our buddy Drew Bellum will come in here and break some of it down. Or we can find somebody. If you're out there and you want to come talk soccer, come school the hell out of us. Because, again, got to talk about them. They're in Atlanta. I'm trying to become a soccer guy. I've been to some games. I've seen some on TV. I want to get more in it, because we need the United fans to listen to us. I don't know where else they go to get their – I bet there's probably a United podcast, but probably not as good as what we would do. But anyway, as always – wow, did you see that? As always, Atlanta, I got my pointer back. We love you. We need you. Hit us up. BelieveATL66 at gmail.com. At BelieveATL66 on Twitter. comment on YouTube. We got some weird comment from some German guy the other day. I translated and it seemed not right.
Did it say Scheiße flick?
Yeah, something. But for real, we love you. We need you. This doesn't happen without you. I mean, it would. We'd just be talking to ourselves in a room. But, man, I'm telling you, just let us know how we're doing. We love the feedback. Other than that, we will see you episode 9. Later, Atlanta.
Do you believe?